just wanted to welcome you.
Emmy Award 2009, and then you have two nominations, and that's for Emmy Awards. And then, of course, you had a lot of history with documentaries. And so I'll let Gauri ask for first
This
question.
is really exciting because I wasn't aware about the awards. I love the film. So, and even I believe Dilip Burman's film, Code Blue, you had some involvement with Code Blue?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So I was the primary editor and writer on that film.
Yes, and he's also on a board with the South Asian Film Festival in North Carolina. So,
yes.
So I just wanted to go ahead, ask you to just say where you live, as well as like give us, how did this journey of filmmaking and the passion of filmmaking, how did it all start?
Sure. So I'm a filmmaker living in Brooklyn, New York, and I've been primarily an editor for about 18 years now. I graduated from film school in '99 and spent a little while in the .com industry right after I graduated. Decided to get back into filmmaking pretty quickly after that, and have been doing it ever since. I've been very fortunate to get a lot of really interesting, good work in documentary, primarily a lot of historical films, but also a lot of, verite kinds of stories that are more timely and, contemporary. And then finally, I came to a point in my career a few years ago where I was interested in doing something of my own, right? I've been primarily an editor working on other people's visions, which is also great, and I love it, and I'm still doing that. But I wanted to make my own something or other, and was looking around for, what am I going to make a film about? And I'm a yoga student and a yoga teacher, and the place where I practice in Chelsea has these wonderful vintage prints hanging on their walls. And I was curious, like, where are those from? What is that all about? And one day on the sort of community bulletin board, there was this little sign that said, we just came back from India and we have these prints for sale. If you're interested, make an appointment and come visit with us. And I said, well, why not? I can just go over there and see. And that was Mark and Elise, who are the collectors in the film that I made. I wound up, I thought I was going to spend maybe an hour at the most at their place, and wound up spending the whole afternoon. They had all these interesting stories, about the mythology and the prints, and, how they would like go out in the middle of nowhere to find them. And I was like, oh, this could be a really interesting film. And I thought it was going to be a short, like 10, 15 minutes kind of thing. And as I started working on it and uncovering more about the amazing history of these images, I was like, it just kept unspooling and grew longer and longer. So that's kind of how the film came about.
So and this is your directorial debut, right? This is the one that's your first time you directed it. So I noticed in the filmmaking that you had done the editing, you had done the production. So it was your idea to make the film just because you met those collectors, right?
Yes.
Mark and Elise. Yes. Okay. So Gauri, go ahead and ask your question.
So did you have? So basically, you did not have any other connection, but just passing by there and noticing those prints, or so you did not have any other idea of what it was about, or did you know about what these things were?
I mean, I knew a very little bit about sort of the mythology, but I didn't know anything about the history of the prints until I started learning a little bit from Mark and Elise. And then obviously, so the film was kind of a voyage of learning for me, which was kind of a fun way actually to explore.
In a way, I'm Indian myself, and just the fact that the first print of, the 5 faces of Shiva, and the name was very attractive. So I don't know how you guys came up with the name. I don't know how you came up with the name, but it's a beautiful, beautiful name. And I was thinking, well, how would you, because it was very attractive. So that's what makes me want to watch the film. This is 5 Faces of Shiva. And then you watch the 5 Faces of Shiva. And, ultimately it explains the manifestation of all beings, it's all the manifestation of the energy and source. But still, just the fact that the name, what made you think of that name to put for the film? Because, I know you go to Brooklyn, you go to Calcutta, you go to different, and you go to women's and all that stuff in the film. But what was how do you come with the name?
So, there was a period when I was maybe halfway through production where I was like, okay, I got to come up with some name, for this project. And I kept trying to come up with things about Kali because, the Kali imagery keeps coming up through the film, and that's kind of the culmination of the film, not to give anything away. But I just couldn't come up with the right thing. And because that five-faced Shiva print is sort of the first one we come to in the film, that seemed appropriate. And it's also like the five faces in a way represent also like all these different aspects of how the prints were used and like the different aspects of the history even. So it just seemed a little bit like symbolic in a nice way. In addition to sort of talking about, what the film's about. And then also, the fact that prints are multiples, right? Like you have not just usually one, you have a bunch of them. So the five kind of also like, all right, there's some connection there. There's some resonance.
Yeah, that's true. It was beautiful.
I'm so glad it like had some resonance for you as well.
No, because it was, and the whole thing, the other thing that I really liked in the film was, of course, I don't want to give away the whole film. So, the cow, the whole Indian belief of cow, and it goes in the depth of it, but the way they beautifully put it in the film, it's amazing because they put I don't want to give that away. So I'm just saying the way they put it in the film is so beautiful. And, because it represents that. And it's so true in India. Like they do believe the cow is a goddess. So the way they put it in the picture was done. It was so beautiful. I was like, wow, that's such a unique concept, to have that in the film. That was really nice too. So I think there were a lot of things that, because I don't know much about where the print started, and then they talk about, 1870s, and then you go all the way to 19th century. And it's kind of like interesting because, even a lot of Indians wouldn't know that. I mean, unless you're in the art world and unless, so it's a very interesting film actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think it's special to be able to dive deeply into this very specific slice of art history. As you said, like a lot of people who even maybe see these prints all the time in their day-to-day life, they have no idea.
Yeah, I've seen,
why would you know?
Yeah, I know, and I've seen Krishna and I've seen Kali. I've seen those prints and they sell them on the streets all the time. But the authenticity, that was what I think the collective was focusing on, the authenticity of the old prints, which are very rare to find in today's world, because then they were like before only rich people had it and only those people had it. That's just going back to the history, and then all of a sudden with the prints coming on and it is going further to the world, it's beautiful. The history of it. It's very nice. The art of it is beautiful actually. So it's a good thought, a very thoughtful film actually. It's like amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was something new for me, at least five faces of Shiva. So, it's just like interesting because I had never looked at it that way. So it's like five faces of Shiva, So it was very interesting. So how many screenings have you had for this one?
So I believe that you are my 10th festival, which is very exciting and a lovely landmark that I just adore. It has been in, let's see, the most recent festival that I was in was the first one in India that I was able to attend, which was in Rishikesh in the beginning of March.
Oh, the Rishikesh International Festival. Yes.
Actually, my film went there too. That's the same film festival, right?
Yeah. I was the one who forwarded your film to Tejasvi Giri.
Oh, okay.
I was the one.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for that connection. It was such a wonderful festival.
And she's an artist too herself. She's an artist herself. Yeah.
And there were a lot of art films in that festival. But it was neat to actually watch it with an audience that was not just Westerners, which of course the US screenings have mostly been people who live where that festival is. There was a wonderful screening in New Mexico last year, so it's been around a few places. I'm very excited for it to be in North Carolina, which is my home state. So
oh really?
That's your home state? I guess we all are from North Carolina.
Oh wow. So has the COVID impacted you with this film or with any of your other work? Has COVID like this just COVID, everybody's at home.
I mean, everyone's impacted for sure. I mean, I'm lucky being primarily an editor because I can pretty easily just work from home. And I was very quiet for March and April. And since then I've actually been very busy, which is great. I'm not complaining. But yeah, I think for my friends, and colleagues who are more on the production side of things, it's been a little more of a challenge to figure out like how do we do that safely and get back to work. But people are really doing it. Like I'm seeing a lot.
People also finding out ways through Zoom to make films, or even through other ways.
Yeah.
So it's going to open room for creativity. Obviously, there's a lot about other people who are dying, and it's really kind of sad. But
survival is you have to survive still, right? So I think people have to do what they have to do. A lot of people have started now shooting too. So I guess we have to start at some point, and get ahead. But I mean, it's hopefully that's what we should believe, that hopefully it will all be over soon, and then we all move forward and there'll be some treatment soon. That's the hope. And there's so much happening in the world overall. So I think looking forward to you're a documentary filmmaker. Have you thought of? So basically, my thought is like you've done so many documentaries. Just tell us, going back to you as a person and your what you've done so far. What was your favorite, absolutely something that touched you and absolutely something that you would want to do again? What was that one film that maybe I'll go watch it too, but that attracted you most?
Well, not counting Five Faces of Shiva, which because it is my own special baby, like that's my favorite. Plus I got to go to India twice for it, which was amazing. 3 times now because I went to the festival also in Rishikesh. I would have to say a film that I made with my good friend Suzanne Mitchell was the director in 2012, which is a film called Running Wild, The Life of Dayton O. Hyde. And it's a story of an old cowboy who rescues a bunch of wild horses. And he has a very rich, interesting life. He's a poet, he's a musician. Like, it's just really deep and interesting. And there was a lot of, really wonderful archival photos of him, as a cowboy, rodeo cowboy. So yeah, I think that one's a good one to recommend to people.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. So basically, like, are you planning something? I know that was Gauri's going to ask you that, but are you planning something in the near future, like something that you're going to do? What's your next, basically what's your next project? What are you looking forward to doing? Yeah, basically.
So right now I'm working on a very interesting, very complicated crime story. And it's set in Alaska. So this is an editing project that I have. It's not, my film, but I'm very invested in it right now. It's taking up all my time in a good way. I actually have another, maybe a short from what I shot in India that's sort of just like the rhythms of a day. And the concept of this film is like, it's a very quiet, introspective kind of short. So I've been sort of trying that a little bit here and there. I have another idea for a film that I've been sort of talking to some people and trying to get off the ground that's about tigers.
Wow.
We'll see if I can.
Try to come to India. You can come to India, visit me.
Yeah. It's actually about tigers in the US.
And I'll go with you to see tigers. I love animals.
Jyoti, the cousin of ours who has the tigers in Jodhpur, she actually tames tigers. So you could actually go with her. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it could just keep taking me back to India, and I would love that.
Yeah, I'm in Bombay, so from New York all the way. So I've been here since September. I went to Spain in the middle just for 10 days, and New York, back to New York and North Carolina. But because I do live in New York. I've lived in New York for almost like a long time. So that's why I'm the actor, so-called actor. We have directed a film together, Gauri and I have. So kind of like, interestingly, I guess it's such a small world in this artistic world. And it's very interesting that how, people meet, paths cross. So she asked me to come and interview you. And I was like, no, you should come with me and we'll all do together. And it's like, so, but I think you have experienced a whole wide of ranges of documentaries or something that's so real. And, is it something that always was attractive to you even while in school? Is that what you wanted to always do? Is that something, or you just got into it because you were editing and just one thing fell after another, it just got, how
So
was it?
ironically, when I was in the film department at the Rhode Island School of Design, when I was there, it was very documentary focused. And when I was there, I had absolutely no interest in documentary filmmaking at all. I wanted to do experimental art installation, like
Yeah.
Bill Viola type of things, big projections and that sort of thing. And as the world's turned out, I wound up making documentaries and really loving it. Like the storytelling aspect
Yes.
turned out to be very appealing for me. And as a documentary editor, you really get a lot of, influence in how the story winds up being told. So it's a lot of creative control, and I love that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So when you won the Emmy Award, the first Emmy Award, how was that? How was that experience?
Well, so I should be totally clear that it was for a series that I worked on. So I worked on this history series called 10 Days That Unexpectedly Changed America.
Mm-hmm.
And my episode was the episode about Antietam, the Civil War battle. Very, very interesting episode in that we did all our recreations as if they were Civil War images. So at that time, they made these glass plates, negatives, like I'm sure you've seen them, like the Matthew Brady photographs from that period. So we did these like lavish recreations with, actors and cannons and muskets and stuff. But all of the product, instead of like a lot of times recreations are just like, video on the screen, film on the screen. It was these still photographs that we then turned into these glass plates as if they were from that era, but then they would move a little bit. It was really neat.
Let me ask you a question. So,
yes.
Not a question. It's basically for the, this is something, you're a director, you've directed now, and you have produced, and you have edited. So you've done all. It's a full package, and a lot of people who are not filmmakers, they don't understand how hard it is to do everything yourself. Because I made a film and we had to do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
And I know it's a struggle to even get your film to the market. So in that sense, knowing that for the newer generation, for the kids who are in school, for the people who want to go into this line thinking they'll make a whole lot of money, to give the younger generation of people how to, if they pursue this, what to expect. What would you say?
So, my best advice is don't make a film on your own money if you can possibly avoid it. Find investors, do crowdfunding, whatever it is, try to get corporate sponsors. If you really want to make your film and you have a good idea, you can put a little bit of money into a short pitch or something, but like it's a hole a hole of money. Don't do it on your own dime. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot more time than you might ever think that it does. I mean, this film for me, I was doing it sort of around my paid work, and it wound up taking 3-4 years. So, you have to really have the passion or the interest around whatever it is that you're doing to sustain that amount of time. I've worked on films that, the director has been working on it for 15 years, following the subject over time. And then they finally, the last year or so is the editing and getting it together. But you really have to have commitments to be able to stick with something for a year, 5 years, 15 years. So that's really something to reflect on when you're getting into a project, is like, okay, well, am I really that excited about this? Is this really, the thing that I want to put out into the world, that I care that deeply about, and really find that commitment to be able to bring it through? Because otherwise you're going to get halfway through and you're going to be like, oh, I'm sick of this.
There's a burnout. Yeah, there's a burnout. You feel like, they always say like, I mean, of course, when I made my film, I didn't plan it out. And so basically go through this journey and you're just like going through it and you, of course, want to accomplish everything. But a lot of people don't realize in the background what's happening. People in the front, they see the film, they'll criticize it or whatever, they'll say. But the truth is, they don't know how much hard work goes through it and how many years goes through it. And, I just do your homework. If you want to make a film, do your homework before you kind of just jump into it. And not everybody's lucky who'll even get the film out. So a lot of people just get shelved and they never make it. A lot of competition nowadays. So I think it's even like much harder nowadays. And then some film festivals are only located to popular films. So then independent mark, now it's not only for independent, now it's for all the popular films. So
Right.
and then the documentary has its own section. So it's kind of like, so all over the place right now. And now with COVID,
Yeah.
everything is online. So it's not even the same feeling as going to a film festival, meeting film festival, people. So do you feel like that is something harder where you're not meeting people and interacting with people and getting feedback from people when they watch your film? Is that harder? Because
I mean, it's so lovely anytime you have an audience for any of your, to be there in the room with people and like, oh, they laughed at the little bit that I laugh at, when I see it, or somebody was like, oh, when something was sweet, or you can feel it in the room when there's an audience with you, and that's just not something that we can replicate online.
That's true. That is true.
It's not there the same way.
So do you have any questions for us? Do you have any questions, and also like?
And I probably
thank you for this, and I will let you know when we play this. But thank you so much for your time with this.
Thank you for your time. Let's keep up. And
it was lovely speaking with you both. Should I show a few images maybe first?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to share screen here.
And it was so nice talking to you. And we'll definitely have the trailer up here on this video and the pictures that you want to send. And all I want to say is namaste, this is from India.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining
me. Yes,
I'm going to add the trailer.
Thank you so much.
Let you know about
chatting with you. It was great.
Lovely meeting you.
It was an honor. Okay. Okay, namaste.
Namaste.
Peace.